All right, final day of this version of Darktide before the Arbitration DLC drops tomorrow. Figured enjoy a couple of games because I know that they did say that the game is going to be changing up story, progression, the way you handle difficulty missions, or at least going up to the higher difficulty missions. I'm going to assume that Darktide hopefully will feel like a different game, not a new game, but hopefully different enough to where it can kind of refresh the game and kind of make it feel fresh again. And not to mention, this is going to be the first time seeing a seeing a new class since the game's launch. I think it's been well overdue for a new class. So we'll just do a standard Auric level damnation difficulty mission. Well, that was quick.
We have a line on an Obscura den serving as a front for blighted stim production. It's located somewhere in the Carnival, which means it's deep in Mobian territory. This is as much an intel mission as it is a sabotage one. Don't come back empty-handed. I want formulae, distribution nodes, the works.
Right, we're on the Carnival map. Don't really play this mission a whole lot, or at least on this tile set in specifically. Using a power sword, a great sword, and semi-auto shotgun. It's actually a pretty decent loadout for the Zealot, or at least for my particular Zealot playstyle. It also has quite a bit of range too. So one of the cool things about the Arbitration DLC, and I haven't really spoiled myself with gameplay or anything, apart from the official gameplay reveal and teaser trailer for Arbitration, so I haven't never watched a video on how you're apparently supposed to play the arbiters and all that. I'm just gonna figure it out as I go tomorrow. But the one thing I was really interested in wanting to learn about is how does the Arbitration fit into the story of Darktide? Oh, we already got a chaos spawn. So apparently the arbitrators, which are actually part of basically the military police arm of the Imperium, they're basically the Judge Dredd of this universe. They believe that Inquisitor Rannick, one of the characters in Darktide, is not doing a great job, so that's why they're coming in. Which kind of makes sense, because usually the arbitrators would probably want to kill most of these rejects, because apparently a lot of the rejects, apart from being standard rejects, they're also convicts too. Ooh, there's some snipers there. Unless your crime is enough to warrant the attention of an arbitrator, which they usually don't really care, they'll usually leave that kind of squabble to the local authorities. But if you see a squad, and you're going to see plenty of those tomorrow, of arbitrators walking the streets, you know that something is going to go down. It's going to be incredibly brutal with the way arbitrators handle their interrogations and their investigations. They're very brutal. It's some of the most brutal stuff you can think of, and that's what the arbitrators' whole job is to do. They're supposed to root out corruption, rebellion, insurgency, that type of thing. So it makes sense for them to make their way into Darktide as a playable class because, well, this is what we're doing. We're quelling an insurgency of chaos forces on Tertium. I'm also interested to see how the prologue, how the beginning of the arbitrator story starts out. It's going to be pretty exciting. But again, as I mentioned earlier, it's long overdue for Darktide to finally get a 5th class. I'm out of coherency at the moment. Just because when Darktide first came out, it really wasn't in the greatest spot. A lot of Darktide users would go immediately back to Vermintide 2. Wait, why is he doing... Okay. I don't know why he activated that demon host. So I kind of just forgot what I was talking about. Oh, okay, demon host is gone. Or dead. So I forgot what I was talking about. Trying to multi-manage here. I think I was talking about the way the story is going to play out for the arbitrators. One thing I am looking forward to when tomorrow with that DLC is one of the voice actors from Vermintide who voiced Corellian.
I thought you were resilient when we first met, not a frail child.
I can't help what you thought.
Oh, that's right. I'm in the wrong here. You're wasting supplies. Back to better.
Is actually going to be coming back and voicing one of the female arbiters. That's a lot of ragers. So that's going to be pretty cool. Corellian is one of my favorite characters in Vermintide, just because she's an archer character, and I love archer type, bow and arrow type characters. It's a nice horde. Poxburster somewhere. Oh, look at that. One swing killed 3 Ragers. That's what I love about the Power Sword and its power-up ability. One of the other things, of course, I'm also looking forward to is hopefully the Arbiterator plays much differently than the Veteran and the Ogryn. In my opinion, the Veteran and Ogryn have very similar playstyles. They're kind of more bland as opposed to what the Zealot and even the Psyker can offer. I think the Psyker, in my opinion, is the most unique class in Darktide because of how it plays. You also have the most options in how you want to spec out your Psyker. If you want, you can play like more like a hybrid type build where you can have a ranged weapon in place of the staff, so like a las gun or a shotgun or something. Or you can go with a staff and just go full on Psyker mode. So I do like that Psyker of all classes has the most amount of options to choose from. What makes the Zealot a little bit more unique than the Ogryn and Veteran is the way you can build out the Zealot with the Martyrdom trait. I think Martyrdom is the most popular. Oof. Yeah, I'm getting kind of manhandled by... I think that was a gunner? Yeah, that looked like a gunner. Nope, those are direct shotgunners. But the Martyrdom class, as I was mentioning, is the most popular builds for the Zealot because the lower your health, the more melee damage you do. Kind of lean more towards that melee-centric focus portion of Darktide. And I know that the Arbitrator's going to have its own version... The Arbitrator's gonna have its own version of the shield and the maul, kind of like what the Ogryn has. And from what I saw in the gameplay trailers, and I'm sure that you guys also saw in the gameplay footage as well for the Arbitrators, that you can also use a weapon from the looks of it, like a ranged weapon with the shield, kind of alter up the playstyle a bit. And trying to talk about what I want to see tomorrow while also dealing with... Oop. Yeah, did not mean to do that. Don't need that. But anyways, I was saying, I'm looking forward to seeing just how different the Arbiter will play. I know that the Cyber Mastiff will be a very unique way to change up the playstyle a bit in Darktide. But I'm also wondering how 4 Arbitrators with the Cyber Mastiffs is going to alter the gameplay, if it's going to make it easier or not. Because that's one thing that Darktide needs, is it needs more unique playable classes. Because like I said, in my opinion, the Ogryn and the Veteran play way too similarly. The only difference is the Ogryn has the most unique armory because, you know, every single weapon the Ogryn can use cannot be used by any other class. Makes it unique in its own way, but at the same time, I mean, it just plays way too similarly to the Veteran. And the other thing, and the one thing I don't like about the Veteran is the Veteran just doesn't have any, really, at least in my opinion, it doesn't have fun melee weapons. I know that the dagger is actually a pretty strong weapon to use in Darktide, but I don't find the Veteran's choice of melee weapons very interesting. It's just not a fun class. Also interesting to see just how strong the new shotgun will be. It's a pump action shotgun, which is what this game has been missing, because right now we have the semi-auto shotgun, which is what I'm using, and then you have the double-barreled shotgun, which is a really strong weapon. I'm hoping that the pump action actually lives up to the hype, but I know that there's a couple of other new weapons there. Hopefully some of those other weapons will be available for every other class, but I'm going to assume that it's going to be a while before people start playing the original Darktide classes, because I know everyone's going to be on the Arbiter class for quite some time. I know I will. I'm hoping it's got other melee weapons besides the shield and the maul, because that shield and the maul is actually a very iconic weapon for the Arbiter. I might have a picture of an Arbiter with the shield and the maul somewhere. I might be able to put that up. What does suck is I know for a fact they didn't mention anything about new maps coming in, so that does suck. It would be nice to see a new tile set make its way into Darktide. But I would also assume that now that they're coming out with the new class, hopefully that means that we're finally going to start seeing more, like, bigger updates, like more updates adding new weapons maybe, and, you know, obviously more new classes as well. Be nice to see a little bit. It would be nice to see a little bit more updates that are focused more on adding new features than just bug fixes, because that's what a lot of these smaller updates a majority of the updates Darktide has is just bug fixes and patches, but nothing on what we're going to see tomorrow. You know, a new class, more weapons, changing up the story a bit. Actually, fleshing out the story from what I've heard, which hopefully leads to more story content coming in for Darktide. Even though the story is not the greatest in Darktide, it's pretty subpar, but the one cool thing about the story of Darktide is it does take place during the era Indomitus, so during the Indomitus Crusade. So that's one little thing. You could always think of it as doing your part in the Crusade. It's a nice little way of adding some continuity to the game and not just having it be its own separate Warhammer title. I mean, it fits into the overall story of Darktide, or of Warhammer. I have no idea what the mission modifier is. I don't see any increased concentrations of a certain enemy type. It's pretty much a standard horde. There's no environmental changes either. So I don't know what modifier this is. It just feels like a really substandard Damnation Auric level mission. And I always play the Auric level stuff because of the mission modifiers, but I don't see anything. Yeah, no elite enemies, at least concentrated numbers of elite enemies. The hordes are just pretty basic. I mean, I won't really complain. I'm pretty sure the difficulties are going to feel different come tomorrow. Just because I can, I'll just quickly heal myself. I just want to get rid of that corruption I've got. This is the other thing too I've always loved about not just Darktide or Vermintide, but just the horde, the 4-player co-op Left 4 Dead-esque style of shooters is they always feel adventurous, even though you're always playing on the same maps constantly. It's always an adventure. This is why I really want to see Darktide at some point, some sort of roguelike mode like we see in Vermintide with the Chaos Waste mode. That's what I would love to see make its way at some point into Darktide. Darktide, I think, at this point, I want to say Darktide could possibly be in a good spot by now where we could possibly see a roguelike mode. Because I just want to enjoy longer missions, just like what we see with Chaos Waste and Vermintide. Just I don't think it would be in the Chaos realms, just because in Vermintide 2, Age of Sigmar's world is different from the 40K world, because there, in Age of Sigmar, the world of Age of Sigmar, the Chaos realm was actually part of the world itself. You don't have to go through some sort of like a warp type thing here in 40K where everything involving Chaos is connected to the warp. It's not the same in Age of Sigmar, but I'm sure they could do something similar with Darktide in having a roguelite mode. Definitely needs one. I aggroed it. I didn't even see the demon host. Yeah. Pretty easy. I did not mean to aggro the demon host, but yeah. This team managed just fine. I do have a lot of corruption though, so I'm going to cleanse it. Even though it's not beneficial for me to have full health. So far, this is a pretty bog standard mission. It's pretty easy considering it's supposed to be Auric level Damnation difficulty. Still can't tell what kind of modifiers we're dealing with. I don't think there's any modifiers. No poxhounds, no concentrations of elite enemies, no nothing. You know what? I'm gonna turn on voice chat because there's someone here talking. Any idea why this mission is so easy? Where are the modifiers at?
Not a clue. I'm just killing shit.
Or with how distorted that player's mic was, it surprised me because, man, it was incredibly loud. I was also not expecting it to be so old. It sounded old. It sounded like he was using a microphone from 2005 or something. Studio mic, like what I'm using, is only like $50. Does pretty well, and you just gotta really finagle the settings until you can actually make it sound more studio-worthy. Alright, I'm on my Ogre now. Do one more mission, and then call it a video. Once again, Auric level Damnation. So as it turns out, I had to go through and look at that same mission I did. Carnival. Actually, it looks like the missions had just reset. So it was the Carnival mission, but the mission modifier was high intensity. Let's just see what Quick Play gives us. Yeah, Rannick. This is the guy who's apparently not doing a good job, which is why we're gonna see the arbitrators come in tomorrow.
Surrounding the Cathedral of Messalina Vengeant, though whatever holiness once touched this area has long departed. So far as we can establish, the trail leads straight to the cathedral's door. Follow that trail to its conclusion and await updates. The Emperor protects.
Back-to-back Carnival missions. Rarely see those in Quick Play. Oh, it's this one. This is actually one of the harder missions to deal with.
It feels like we're walking into a trap.
And you'd know all about that, wouldn't you? Have no fear. Preparation will out.
So yeah, place right there where you see the green stuff going, spewing up. That's where we're going to be going. Technically a lengthier mission than most others, which is a good thing. Bad for me, though, because that just means I have more editing to do, but that's fine. I also don't like how slow I am as an Ogryn. Oh, we got a Plague Ogryn. Let's just go ahead and toss Big Bomb. Got a gunner somewhere. Okay, so I think this modifier does include a lot of pox bursters, or I think it might be specialists because that's what we're seeing a lot of right now. Finally picked up a grenade. Bad spot. There's a scripture. All right, I gotta toss it. Let's go ahead and grab that. Oh wait. I don't want to lose the crate. Yeah, really should have swapped out the melee weapon because even though the shield and the maul is pretty good, I just don't like it. Gee, there's so much pox gas. That's the other thing too I don't like about Ogryns is when you're dealing with pox hounds, sometimes you can't see them if they're right on you. So a lot of times I get downed, or not downed, but I'll get caught by them. Drop the minute pack. I wanted to save it for later, but everyone was close to getting knocked out. Definitely got to swap out this melee weapon. Alright, got another massive horde coming in. Hopefully it's not too many not pox bursters, but pox flamers. No. Ooh, that sucks. Oh, I'm not dead. I thought I died. That's why I went the opposite direction. Yeah, this basically means we're at the halfway mark of this mission, so it's a long mission. This is the only good thing about this room when you're doing Carnival, is this corner here makes it easily defensible. So that way you're not overwhelmed in this particular part of the map, especially when the chaos spawn comes in. I think it's usually a chaos spawn. Alright, pretty easy. And that was actually kind of fun. I don't normally get to enjoy being able to mow down enemies like this. Just stance it. Definitely need as much ammo as I can get. Look how much closer we are, which is still pretty far. It's just a matter of whether or not we'll be able to easily do the final part of this mission. The final part of this mission is always the hardest. Especially on this particular one, on the Carnival map, where you're dealing with having to destroy these canisters. It's a very hard mission to do, especially on these on the hardest difficulty on top of that. Yeah, another scripture. But I don't want to use the metacrate we have. We definitely need it for the final part. Another chaos spawn. One thing I haven't had in a while is a grenade. See if I can stance it. He has me aggroed at the moment. See what I mean by the poxhounds? Can't. It's hard to pay attention to them as an Ogryn because you're so taller. Now I don't want to say it's been easy up to this point because I don't want to jinx myself, because I have a feeling we might fail this mission. Or maybe it's just me and it's just not my game for Ogryn. Man, I still don't have a grenade. Nice to have a grenade. Especially for the final part.
Whatever the cult intends, those stims are clearly part of it. Strike team, violence please, now.
Almost there. I'm just trying to stay focused, can't really talk at the moment. All we gotta do is take out the Sims and we're good. Maybe we will beat this mission because it's actually not as hard as it usually is. I think it's just because of the modifiers, not as difficult. Alright, not too bad. If it was the Shock Trooper Gauntlet and modifier, then yeah, it probably would have been a different story. Or at least a slightly different outcome. And now we wait for another day or so, and then finally tomorrow we're going to be able to get our hands on the Arbites. And who knows, probably for, I'd even say the rest of the year, we're probably just going to see nothing but 4-man squads of Arbiters. And you know what? I'm fine with that. Quickly do this before I end the video. Go back to this pickaxe. One of the better melee weapons in the game. Alrighty. Well, I will see you on that Arbites DLC tomorrow. Or if not, Tuesday. I also have one other Warhammer project I'm working on, which explains why I have not uploaded in a couple days. Because that one's actually been taking up a lot of time trying to get all the B-roll footage I needed so it can actually come out or so it can be a good video. Hopefully it's a good video. Well, anyway, bye.